Supercomputers is often considered one of the most scary threats in fiction, with the idea of a super intelligent AI robot that thinks humanity is nothing but a disgusting piece of trash that needs to be exterminated is frankly scary as hell. So what if we took two of the most popular AI human-hating life wipers who both in their own stories tried to attempt to wipe the planet of human life? Today we would have Ultron from the Marvel Cinematic Universe, appearing in the Age of Ultron film, and we will use AM from I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream from the original short story, and we will also be taking account the game. And we will not be taking into account What If Ultron as well, but Ultron will be given his army. Now, to start with AM, I'm just going to be referring to him as AM for simplicity's sake. I don't want to say his full name as it is quite long, but he would at least be in those city level ranges, as it stated he not only has access to nukes, that he would have also survived them since he engulfed the entire planet with his wires, and he is across the entire planet, and he essentially became the planet itself, meaning when those nukes hit the planet, he is also tanking them. This is consistent as AM can cause earthquakes strong enough to cause fissures. Fissures being something that can only occur with at least a magnitude 6, if not 8 earthquakes, which range from the town to city level range just from the waves of the earthquake, with you can argue higher due to the fact that the total seismic energy would get into those city to large island ranges of power. However, there is higher ends for AM, as it is implied that AM surface wiped the planet, or destroyed the surface of the planet. And obviously, not only should AM have access to this tech still, he survived it via the fact that he is the planet itself and he engulfed his wires across the planet, essentially making the planet his home. Though, to be fair, this is across a long period of time, so I wouldn't blame you if you offered the fact that it could just be over a long period of time and he's not necessarily taking the entire planet being a surface wipe at once, but at the very least he should range from those city to large island ranges of power off of what we just specified. However, there is one higher end, and this comes from the game. AM is stated to live longer than the heat death of the universe and would torture humans forever. The heat death of the universe is essentially the idea that eventually all stars in the universe would die out and the universe would reach a state of maximum entropy. Everything would be a cold, dark environment where no heat could be created and all stars would have long burned out. Even black holes would have been evaporated, leaving a thin, evenly distributed soup of fundamental particles. And while this is a while in the future, something that happens before this is the sun engulfing the Earth, since we already know that the sun would have died out by this point. And this would mean that AM would be able to survive the sun engulfing him, and the sun will stay in this state for 1 billion years. So the sun produces multi-continental energy every second just by being the sun. Every second it is alive, and every second AM would be in the sun, he would be tanking multi-continental worths of energy just on him. And he would be fine, he would be chilling. Even if he were to only be engulfed in the sun for a day, it would be small planetary, but due to the fact we know this would last for a whole billion years, as this would occur when the sun turns into a red giant, which lasts for a billion years before it goes into a white dwarf and, dies out. This would actually end up in the kilofo ranges of power, specifically 1 kilofo. 1 kilofo is enough to blow up the solar system in its entirety. And that's 1,000 foes. And this is not taking into account the red giant is 100 to 1,000 times larger than our own normal sun. This means that this much larger star is producing enough energy a second to destroy the moon instead of just multiple continents. Every second the red giant is alive, moons would be evaporated and destroyed. This means that someone producing up to 1.19 megafo of energy. Still solar, but higher into it. For speed, AM kind of does lack speed feats, as physically he does struggle to react to humans, but his processing speed should be subrelativistic, as supercomputers, which he's stated to be massively superior to and kind of dwarfs them in literally everything, obviously, can calculate and perform actions in 100s of nanoseconds, aka subrelativistic. For his hacks, AM actually has an extremely decent amount. He can manipulate the minds and make people go insane, manipulate their biology to whatever he sees fit. He's turned people into apes, into slime, once again driven them mad, and just manipulate their biology into pure atoms and BFR them as well. He's even made people go blind and alter people's perception of time. He can give radiation scars. He can heal people and make them virtually immortal. Some scans in these guidebooks not only state he doesn't have a soul, he has constant backups of himself that he keeps in case he somehow dies, even though he's an eternal god who will outlive the heat death of the universe, with the only way to kill him being through evaporating him and attacking him in cyberspace. He can change reality to how he pleases, to infinite possibilities, to create illusions, alter landscapes, etc. And even his nukes are so powerful that they evaporated oxygen itself. AM, for someone with only a book and game to his name, is shockingly a lot stronger than a lot of people are going to give him credit for. But now let's move on to Ultron. Ultron is a character who should range from those city to country ranges of power, due to the fact he's able to contend Iron Man and Thor. Iron Man, being a character even back in Iron Man 2, has simple lasers that have city-busting energies. And Thor, back in Thor 1, was able to shake Jotunheim, a country-level feat, which is consistent with the lower calculations for Thor shaking Jotunheim as well. However, it is possible to get him higher. You can argue off of Thor scaling, Ultron should be in those moon to maybe planetary ranges of power, as weapons such as Mjolnir are considered stronger than Rocket's own moon-busting weapons. And not only is this consistent with Hulk himself arguably having planet-busting statements as of Age of Ultron,
encapsulate him so that he doesn't destroy the planet.
And the Sokovian meteor can arguably not only has the same statements, it potentially can be calced to this range as well, which could get the calculation higher than some lower end calculations, and considering this is consistent with other lines of scaling, I see no reason why we can't. This is where Ultron would cap at, as you wouldn't get the higher, maybe more star end seen in later films, such as things with Captain Marvel igniting a star, or Doctor Strange blocking a black hole, as obviously these characters grow much stronger and they fight much stronger opponents. Ultron would be in those sub-relativistic to FTL ranges for speed, due to the fact he scales the rest of the Avengers, who can react to things such as Iron Man's lasers, repulsors, and such. And Ultron has lasers himself, which others he scales to can react, and they can react to him, and he can react to them. Pretty simple. They would be sub-relativistic to FTL, depending on how you want to take these feats. For hacks, he has energy blasts and whatever. He can manipulate gravity with his little gravity gauntlet. He has a hive mind, which can constantly switch his AI from one body to another, and is quite good at hacking things, even other advanced AI like Jarvis. So who wins? While Ultron is actually faster and could potentially hack into AM via the fact he's shown to hack other extremely advanced supercomputers. Keep in mind, Jarvis is also an extremely advanced supercomputer like AM, and is maybe even more intelligent considering all the abstract, higher things that Jarvis has to explain, which exist within the MCU, that don't necessarily exist in AM, or I Have No Mouth and Must Scream. AM is a lot more durable and also has better hacks. Ultron or his army is not beating him with brute force. Mainly his durability is the big problem, as his AP likely does not scale to the peak death of the universe thing, but his durability would be so strong, it would essentially be impossible for Ultron to harm him physically. All of his physical attacks would simply bounce off, while AM's physical attacks also really wouldn't work on Ultron, as both have higher durabilities than the other, but their AP can't really affect one another. As Ultron's AP would be small planetary, best, while AM's durability is solar, and AM's AP would be multi-continental at best, while Ultron's durability is also small planetary. And Ultron is faster, but AM also has hacks that could easily work on Ultron and AM. AM could potentially reality hacks Ultron, essentially. He could manipulate Ultron's biology. Well, isn't a robot. Ultron is still, made up of, like, atoms and such, which we know AM can manipulate. So it really just comes down to who can deal with the other, and it just depends on, do you think Ultron can hack AM? Because we know, once again, he can hack other supercomputers like Jarvis, or would Ultron even be able to pull it off? And the problem is, even if one could kill the other physically, both have backups. That's the problem. So even if Ultron somehow manages to kill the body of AM, or AM manages to kill the body of Ultron, then both would just respawn in another body. So we essentially have a case where neither can physically harm the other. One out-hacks the other and could instantly win with that, and the other could essentially, just hack into the other if given the chance, though it would be quite hard given the chance. And not only this would be something Ultron wouldn't immediately do, while AM's hacks are a lot more in character, he just does. While Ultron's hacking would not only leave him vulnerable, as it could take a long amount of time, the only way I could kind of feasibly see Ultron pulling that off is if he were to somehow move away, get into a secluded location, which, considering AM has access to the entire planet, it would be very hard for that to be the case, and then spend the time to hacking without AM realizing, which would once again be really hard for AM not to realize, since once again he is the planet. And it's just a lot more likely AM could simply reality warp Ultron, even with the speed gap, as its reality warping doesn't really matter with speed, especially if he's doing it in an AoE, which seems to be the case. AM would simply think, oh, Ultron is not a threat, and Ultron wouldn't be a threat. He would be a plushie or something, I don't know. Considering he can manipulate infinite possibilities, and once again, not looking good for Ultron. This isn't Infinity War where there's like this one select possibility for Ultron. No, as AM can manipulate all those possibilities. Sorry, Strange, there is no one possibility for this. Though, on a more lighthearted note, I do think AM wins, but I think they would probably be friends. Both have similar goals in the end. And in the end, I guess, and both would kind of hate humanity. So, I don't know, both might be able to like team up on their respective adversaries if they were to cross over. AM is just a lot more sadistic and cruel, torturing the last 5 humans and stuff, while Ultron more just wants to be done with it and kill humanity. Though I don't think Ultron would really care or have like a huge difference with his partner being a little psychotic. Though, with that out of the way, while this is kind of a case where physically neither can really harm the other, I think AM's win con is simply a lot better than Ultron's, which is a very small scenario that Ultron might even not realize he has to do immediately. Despite Ultron's pretty decent speed gap, if we take into account his higher ends. So thank you guys for watching this video. Please like, subscribe, and share the video, and join the Discord in the description. Peace.